is Yana and you're watching Yana TV. And today we are super thrilled to have an amazing guest that is Mukul Deva. And Mukul is an author to 15 books. Many of them became bestsellers. He's a serial entrepreneur, leadership coach, and a former army officer. He's also still a mentor to many, many people. So Mukul, thank you so much for being with us here today. It's a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you so much, Yana. I'm really happy to be here.
So now, being a leadership coach and again a successful business owner, what advice could you give me maybe to other business owners who are in this stage right now when they actually kind of done with working in the company and they would like to work on the company and maybe they already have hired the right people for the team, but they're not quite sure, how to train them? I mean, of course, they could hire you.
That would be the shortcut.
But let's say if they choose maybe to try do something themselves, so what are the advice you could give them the way to train their people so they can eventually maybe reduce their involvement in the decision-making process?
Okay, it's actually very simple. There's no rocket science here. You have to trust your instincts and you have to trust yourself that the decision you took to hire different people, you had applied your thoughts to it carefully and taken a considered decision. Mm-hmm. If you trust that you have taken the right decision to hire the right people and you just give them a little scope, a little ground to play in, they will start showing you what they are good at. But do understand that whether it is growth or innovation, both come at a cost. You cannot do either one of them without some failures on the way.
Okay, so for the business owners, right? So what is the way for them to deal with failures? So
okay. When you hire a person, right, mm-hmm. and you give them the head to run on their own, they will make mistakes.
It's given.
It's a given. Mm-hmm. You take 10 decisions a day, I take 10 decisions a day. It doesn't matter what level I am at. It doesn't matter what level anyone is at. Any human being who takes 10 decisions a day will get 6 right, 2 mediocre, 2 bad. I mean, none of us are perfect. Mm-hmm. So we have to understand that if I make mistakes, so does that guy or girl, whoever.
Yes.
And when you understand that mistakes made are of two kinds. One is a deliberate mistake which is made. One which is an error in judgment. Mm-hmm. You cannot penalize people for an error in judgment. A lot of business owners make this mistake. Someone makes a mistake and they don't see that was just an error in judgment. They go.
So what would be then a better way, maybe like what would be the feedback that the business owner could use towards people who maybe make an error or judgment mistake? Or what is a better way of dealing with that to get the most out of them?
Okay, what you need is a good process to mitigate the risk. Mm-hmm. So when you have, let's say you have 4 managers, you should firstly clearly define what you expect from them.
At the very beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you hire a person, you should tell him, these are the 10 things I expect from you. Secondly, you have to train them to do those 10 things. Thirdly, you need to make it clear to them what is the bandwidth in which they will operate. They should know their limits. So that way for example, let's say a manager has a financial authority to spend, let's say $5,000. Mm-hmm. So your mistake has already been capped to that amount. If he's going to go beyond that, he needs to refer it back to you. So in not just in monetary terms, but also in terms of loss of goodwill, operating procedures, it has to be clearly defined. What is my job? What are the limits beyond which I cannot work alone? I need to take approval from my boss. Thirdly, you need to have a very strong reporting procedures. Mm-hmm. There has to be a process in place that these are the reports I expect, these are the time or days on which I expect them. If you do these 3 things, you will generally be able to manage the risk of new people who are learning to grow.
So this is helpful, for bosses who are trying to develop their people, right? Now, what I commonly see also in development of business, that there are 2 types of bosses. So one of them who started, especially maybe in the family-owned businesses who started everything themselves, they really hang on to their business. True. And there's a bit of an issue of letting go and control issue and, trying to make it perfect and nobody will as perfect as they are. So, it's a bit of that. And the second type of bosses is maybe, hired in the company, like as a CEO, maybe hired in the company, and they have to take it on, and they're a bit maybe overwhelmed at the beginning with everything that is happening. And so they're a bit maybe detached from people and not as engaged with the feedback and reporting, right, and expectations. So for those two categories of bosses out there in the real world of business, again, given that you're a leadership coach, what kind of advice would you give them maybe in terms of like perspective shifting or way of thinking? It would really help them to look differently into what they're doing right now and help them to transition and being a kind of a more empowered boss, or like you like the concept of breakthrough leadership, for example, right?
So who am I advising, the business owner or the hired
the
manager?
business owner.
The business owner. Okay, what you have described is a very classic symptom. I see this in almost every business which has grown to a particular point and they've started professionalizing. The boss will advertise, use headhunters to get top-notch talent into play, but then the owner doesn't want to relinquish control because having set up the company, they have a strong emotional attachment.
Yes.
Right? Now, again, like I said earlier, if you do not hand over control to other people, then the size of your business will be restricted to the size of your vision and energy. If I'm running a company which is operating in 13 countries, I can only be present in one. So in the other 12, I have to give those people some latitude and leeway. So you lay down your processes, lay down the operating limits, help your people by training them, giving them whatever advice and suggestions you need, and accept their mistakes when they happen, if they are errors in judgment.
And if they're not,
fire them.
then the wrong people,
Yeah.
right? The wrong people for the company.
Well, maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't say wrong people, because all people basically have two things in common. They like to succeed and they like to be appreciated. Sometimes people go wrong, do stupid things for various reasons. Well, if you see that that person is doing the same thing again and again, and it's a deliberate act, you replace that person.
Okay, well,
I'm not a big fan of that though, Yana. I have not fired, in the 19 years that I was managing director of my first company in India, I only fired 2 people.
and what was the reason that you fired them, if I may ask?
One was because the guy was in the habit of giving wrong reports. He would lie very often.
Okay,
And the second one was financial misappropriation. It wasn't a very large amount, but the fact that it happened once, happened twice, there is no third strike.
so it means your life philosophy and business philosophy was there, that you would always give people a chance to improve and to kind of show what they're really capable of.
True.
Unless they kind of really make a big mistake and mess it up.
True. I have a problem with integrity.
Okay.
So if someone does something which is showing up badly on their integrity, I generally am not very forgiving. Because I value loyalty and integrity a lot.
Okay, so clearly loyalty, integrity,
And
this
discipline.
is, and discipline. Those are the 3. Well, being an army officer, you stay to your points. That this is something that you really value a lot in
Absolutely.
people.
And I do not have much of tolerance on these issues.
Okay.
If someone does something which is not reflecting, shows poor integrity, I'm not very tolerant.
So, Mukul, what would be your definition of success?
Oh, that's a nice question, and I think the definition which I have, which is most relevant at this point in my life, is to be able to enjoy the journey. You see, success is not a destination.
Yes.
It's not something, because human beings are very progressive animals. I set a goal for myself today. When I reach there, I don't stop. Then a new goal emerges, right?
Yes.
So every time it's the journey to the goal I have set for myself now which defines my success. And the second yardstick I have, because I have only 2 yardsticks for measuring this. One is whether I enjoy the journey. The second is, what is the purpose of my life to the community I live in? Am I giving something back to the community? Because if it's just about making money, any fool can make money. But it's how many people will actually remember you for what you've done for the community, the country, whatever is relevant for you. It could be, you could be just helping 5 people in your village, that's fine. But your life has to have a purpose beyond that of your self and your family.
Okay, so for Mukul Deva, what is the life purpose?
Oh, I think I mentioned to you that in both my companies, we invest about 25% of our energy in community outreach.
Okay, you haven't. You just did now.
Okay, so this is what how we pay back. Whatever we do here in the Singapore company, let's say we are doing training or coaching, right? We will invest 25 hours out of every 100 towards the community. So we will find an organization which is working for the community, train, coach, mentor them so that they can do a better job.
That's a
We
great-
also work with domestic violence victims, abandoned housewives, orphans, orphanages, anyone who reaches out to us. As far as community outreach is concerned, we never say no.
Okay, well, that's clearly along with your integrity, that you do help people who are in need. So must be an army officer, you know, training from the very beginning. Or was it values from the parents? Where did that come from?
I think in my case it's good karma.
You mean you're planning for the next life?
Absolutely.
I see. So there is some calculations there. That's wonderful. Okay, community outreach. So then for you, have you ever thought, like in the big times, you know, about legacy that you would like to leave one day to people who are going to be after you?
So, you know, actually, when it comes to legacy creation, then I have a really nice role model, and
Yes.
that's Mother Teresa.
Yes?
You know, she was a fantastic person. She said that I help one person at a time. And in her life, she helped millions. Right? So I go the same way. Even if I help one person in a week, I'm fine. As long as someone is being helped, because when I do community outreach, I insist on a paid forward system, which means if I work with you
Yes.
for 5 hours, I want you to invest 5 hours working with somebody else, helping someone else in a similar situation.
Doing anything doesn't have to be
Doesn't
coaching,
matter.
right? So whatever
Doesn't
you
matter.
want to contribute.
Yeah,
Okay.
doesn't matter. But when you ask people to pay it forward, then the whole community, the whole society at large gets pulled up.
That's such a beautiful way of helping people and kind of bringing strong communities.
I told you I have a great role model.
Great, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Mukul, for being with us here today. And that was Mukul Deva, a leadership expert. So please do make sure that you follow all the tips that he mentioned to bring the most out of your people. Let them shine, let them follow their dreams within your company so that one day you can actually step back and do anything else that you want and your company gonna progress and bloom on its own. So do follow your dreams. And if you like this video, I would highly appreciate if you share it with your friends. Do stay with our Yana TV community, and we're gonna talk to you next week with more segments, more interesting people, more education and inspiration so that you can build the life and business of your dream.
What really helped me to decide what to focus on was, can I see myself, doing whatever I was providing in that particular business for the next 20, 30 years?